Numident database, which is the name of the database at SSA, has errors in roughly 17.8 million of its records, and including things like outdated citizenship status for foreign-born workers and lawful immigrants. And so this is the reason why there's a higher error rate and disproportionate harm to people who are naturalized citizens or who are work-authorized immigrants. And so in order to correct all of those things, you would have to consolidate across federal and state systems a massive amount of personal data, and then it would need to be continuously.
Ilhan Omar is attempting to persuade people that verifying whether workers are legally allowed to work is somehow risky. At the same time, she behaves as though permitting millions of undocumented workers to integrate into the economy without oversight is completely acceptable. This contradiction is puzzling to many Americans. During today's congressional debate, Democrats once again sought to eliminate E-Verify. Rather than presenting real solutions, they resort to alarming phrases like national database and government surveillance to instill fear. What they failed to address is a fundamental fact that every system relies on records to function effectively. The real issue is not enforcing immigration laws. It is a federal government that struggles to maintain accurate records and then uses this failure as an excuse to avoid enforcement entirely. Some Democrats exploit this weakness to obstruct any meaningful action. Many Americans are frustrated by the continuous spin and half-truths. They desire honesty, not talking points. If you are weary of misleading narratives and seek clear, straightforward reporting, stay with us. This is Censor Headlines, and we refuse to allow anyone to distort the facts or rewrite reality.
Today, in your written testimony, you outlined several reasons why the E-Verify does not work the way that committee Republicans claim it does. Could you walk us through the most significant problems with E-Verify's effectiveness? And what do you know about the system's error rates and the number of work-authorized people who are wrongfully flagged or rejected from employment each year?
Yes, thank you for the question. So, mandating E-Verify nationwide would be a mistake because the system is not ready for the millions of small businesses that are not currently enrolled. Part of what we know about who is enrolled, that 13% of employers who are enrolled, is that they tend to be much larger employers. So they tend to have HR departments and more infrastructure and capability to handle compliance requirements, unlike the smaller businesses that by and large are not enrolled and do not have that type of in-house assistance to handle the burdens. So that means that they need to do things like technology upgrades and staff trainings, and they'll be facing different types of operational challenges in order to get to a point of compliance. And on a nationwide level, people who have researched that have estimated that it would cost those employers collectively billions of dollars to do that, to reach that. Even for businesses that do comply, those companies, as we have discussed, already face raids and audits. It doesn't stop that from happening. Despite championing the system, the administration is unable to kind of give employers any real protection against the unreliability of the data. So what we don't have good current data on the reliability of the system. And I think one thing that the committee could focus on is getting a more current study on the error rates, because the last time an independent external evaluation was conducted was in 2009. That's a very long time ago. But if you take the error rates that they found at that time and you apply them to our current employment numbers, our national folks participating in the workforce, in the labor force, we think that anywhere between roughly 200,000 and 520,000 people each year who are work authorized and have been hired and accepted an offer of employment would be wrongfully denied because of the errors in E-Verify, the opportunity to start that job. And I know that proponents of the system will talk about, it's got a 97, 98% effective rate. The fact is that in your jurisdiction, if you have people coming to you because you were denied the ability to start a job that you had been offered and you have work authorization, that is still not going to be an acceptable number of 97%.
Ms. Han, do you think the federal government should create this kind of national database for workers? And why does this idea give you a pause?
Yeah, so I think in order for E-Verify to function properly, it would require a massive consolidation of data that does not currently exist, right? We would need state agencies and federal agencies. We would need the photo databases, and then in addition, what we haven't even talked about yet is the flaws in the SSA database and how those affect people in this system as well, right? The Numident database, which is the name of the database at SSA, has errors in roughly 17.8 million of its records, and including things like outdated citizenship status for foreign-born workers and lawful immigrants. And so this is the reason why there's a higher error rate and disproportionate harm to people who are naturalized citizens or who are work-authorized immigrants. And so in order to correct all of those things, you would have to consolidate across federal and state systems a massive amount of personal data, and then it would need to be continuously updated, and you would have to link the identity information across the country. And that process is not only impractical, but it would effectively create a centralized national ID infrastructure that tracks every worker in America. And that raises some serious privacy concerns. And beyond the risk of hacking, I think it also would expand it would enable the government to conduct surveillance far beyond employment verification, eroding civil liberties and creating a tool to monitor individuals in a way that it was never intended.
Thank you.
This hearing was anticipated to be yet another effort led by Ilhan Omar and her allies to characterize E-Verify as a dangerous concept. Initially, it followed a familiar pattern. Democrats invited an immigration lawyer who discussed system errors, added costs, and unreliable data, making it seem as though the program itself was problematic. On the surface, it appeared to be a coordinated effort to alarm the public. However, upon closer examination, the testimony presents a very different narrative. The witness never claimed that E-Verify is unethical. She did not argue that checking work eligibility is wrong, nor did she suggest that immigration laws should be disregarded. Instead, she highlighted something that is often overlooked. The federal government's databases are outdated, disorganized, and poorly managed, which creates real issues for individuals who are legally permitted to work. This point significantly undermines the narrative promoted by Ilhan Omar and other Democrats. This is not an argument against enforcing the law. It is an argument against government mismanagement and a lack of accountability. A flawed system harms lawful workers, including legal immigrants and naturalized citizens who have followed the rules and done everything correctly. Democrats want the public to come away with the belief that E-Verify itself is dangerous. However, the testimony clearly indicated the contrary. If government records were accurate and properly maintained, E-Verify would operate much more effectively and with far fewer errors. The issue is not with the concept of verification. It is with the refusal to rectify the underlying system. Instead of improving the data and ensuring fair and effective enforcement, Democrats repeatedly use these flaws as justification to block enforcement altogether. This approach conveniently benefits illegal labor and the political interests associated with it. There is also a subtle tactic at play. When Republicans assert that they want to verify legal workers and protect American jobs, Democrats counter by claiming that Republicans are advocating for mass surveillance. This assertion does not align with reality. E-Verify is not a surveillance program. It is a basic employment check. Even the witness acknowledged that system errors primarily affect lawful immigrants, making the need to fix the databases even more critical. The real solution is clear: clean up government records and enforce immigration law properly. Ilhan Omar avoids this conversation because, once enforcement is effective, the usual talking points collapse. This hearing was not a warning about E-Verify at all. It was an unintentional acknowledgement of why some Democrats prefer the system to remain broken.